So with natural hydrogen, you can make the world a better place while making money. And I always say I have a genetic defect. My founder's gene is just oversized. The porous rock and the hydrogen is in this rock. We have identified 7 regions in the world where we expect similar quantities. And when I mean quantities, I always mean hundreds of millions of tons in the ground. I want to tell my secrets because I want more and more people to do this. There are 7 different ways of how hydrogen can be produced in the earth and how it can come up to the top.
Welcome, Erik Schäfer, to our podcast, The Hydrogen Leader. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Erik, as you know, this podcast format intends to provide unique insights of top professionals in the hydrogen economy, but also wants to tell untold stories about people, how they got there, and how they became so successful. I know that you are very active in the natural/white hydrogen space, but before we come to that exciting topic, I want to ask you, who is Erik Schäfer?
That's possibly the most difficult question at the beginning. I'm maybe a case of multiple personalities in the best sense. First and foremost, I would describe myself as a family person, a father, a friend, a dog lover. I like to love. I'm most fulfilled when I can make someone happy without expecting anything in return. That's a little bit the altruist in me. But I think you're more focusing on the business person, the founder in me, who has now, over the last 30 plus years, founded approximately 20 companies, started in Silicon Valley in Palo Alto in 1988, and
Wow.
all over the planet. And I always say I have a genetic defect. My founder's gene is just oversized. I love found. I just need to build something, taking something small and turning into something real, into something big. That's what's me, and that gives me energy. Um,
Yeah,
if
I noticed when I first got to learn about you, and I just called you, and you were very approachable. Is this your attitude, that you also listen to new people and their ideas?
uh, Definitely, I'm well, deep in my heart, I'm a curious boy, maybe of 13 years of age, just forgetting time and space in whatever I do. If something gets my attention, um, I have only half jokingly say all new businesses I do only with people under 40 years of age, because there is a lot of energy, a lot of to take the world out of bounds. People above 40 start to talk about their golf handicaps and later on about their hip handicaps. But no, just joking. But no, not yes, no. But what I mean is, I really love to get in touch with new people, with new ideas, and to be creative and exciting.
Today we want to talk also your special engagement in your company, Green Investors. I think you founded the company more than 10 years ago. Um, why did you do that? Were you always passionate to invest into green technologies? You mentioned that you started your career in Palo Alto, which is not so much known for green technologies. Why did you found this company?
Yeah. Um, well, at the time in Palo Alto, that was, as I said, in the late 80s, that was even before the internet boom. I always wanted to learn how to found something, have an idea, have an inventor. I'm not an inventor. I always need somebody who has an invention, bringing capital to it, bringing an anchor investor. At the time, it was always either Bill Gates or Larry Ellison from Oracle. We gave them kind of cheap shares just to have them there.
Really?
We took a professor from Stanford University to give the reputation. It was at the time starting originally in the medical device industry, then going to the internet. And there was one street, Santa Road in Palo Alto. There was about 40% of the global venture capital, all the big companies from today. And in the middle was a pizza place, and we threw the deals over the table. Today, we would all be in jail for it because of compliance reasons. And but those were the days. So there I learned how you you have to look into a new industry, into a new part of the world, try to put it together, and take all the ingredients I just spoke about for 2 minutes, and then give it a shot and try to build a company out of it. So that brought me into many spaces, into many new industries. And if you're always looking for a new industry, you move on. In the late 90s, it was the internet, then it became digitization, it became natural resources in the 2000s. When China came to the world stage, they needed everything. They needed energy, they needed all natural resources. And so that was what brought me at first to natural resources.
Yeah.
And now to come back to your question, or to lead to your question, was it always that I was green? No. In the 2000s, I had a project in Australia, again, look, China comes, what do they need? They need energy. And we bought a piece of land, and then we made a coal mine out of it because China needed all this energy, which was coal-fired power plants. And then we built that mine together with Goldman Sachs. We built a railway line. We did all of that. And then in the end, in 2011, we sold it to a stock exchange listed company. Always when I build something, I have to find something new. So therefore, when I'm done, like an architect possibly.
Yeah.
And and that was in 2009, 10, 11, when I saw all these huge moonscapes that were created in Australia, where all this coal had been taken out, millions of tons every year. And then I said, we shouldn't do this. The nature needed 100 million years to create these resources. We shouldn't take them out of the ground,
Yeah.
and we just should burn them. CO2 was less in my mind, but it was really that I said, we cannot just in 200-300 years take out what needed 200 million years to be created. And then I turned green.
Mhm.
That was around 2010. And for the rest of my life, I'm repaying my carbon debt that I retrieved in my during my coal years.
Well, I think it's a great journey that you are explaining, because what I get out of it, you have been very international. Now you founded your company in Germany, and probably you are also quite wealthy. So you try to make an impact in green technologies from Germany. And I think this is a great story. And so I'm very excited to see where this leads us. Okay. So I also noticed that you were, if I'm right, one of the first students, or somehow very closely linked to the very famous business school in Germany, WHU, right? So you're an ambassador, right? Still, right? Is that also something that you are passionate about, to give back to students to get a good business education?
Oh, definitely. And again, I told you already that I have this genetic defect. So I was in the founders batch of the university. Uh, Usually, in the end of a life, you understand a lot of things. And so today, I'm not surprised that I was in the first student generation. I had to found at this time already something. No, we were really, it was an exciting time. We founded it. If I say we, I was one of 48 students. There was a professor, and then a secretary, and head of the student affairs. So we just started like on a little nutshell,
Yeah.
and then we said already at that time we're going to make one of the best universities in Europe, on the planet, out of it. And finally, it worked.
Yeah.
We were so looking back, it's a prize. If my son would ask me, "Hey, there is a new university. Do you think I should go there?" I would say, "No, no, no. Go to something more reputation." But I did what I did, and I'm happy about it. I found it at the end of of my graduation. I founded the alumni organization in Praxi, which is now one of the, well, if I say most prominent by all terms of judgment by external people as well in Europe and on the planet, people in all continents, 60 countries. And then I founded the alumni as the foundation, and I'm at the university for about now 30 years in the admission team. I'm a member of the dean's advisory board. That's what brought me the ambassador role in it. And yes, I love to or help organize good education, good business education, because education is the most important resource a country can have. Good
Yeah.
education.
Yeah. Yeah, I listened to a speech recently where somebody said, in our life, we normally meet 10,000 people. And if you can change the life to the better of 10 people, and 3 generations are doing that, it's adding up into millions. And I think you have started many things on a blanket sheet of paper, a university or companies, and it seems that you have changed also the life of quite a lot of people with your engagement. So thank you for that. Um, Now coming to our major topic, which is in the discussion of many people these days, and it's natural slash white hydrogen. First of all, before we ask ourselves, what is white and natural hydrogen? Why can't they agree on one term? Do do we need both? It's confusing, white or natural hydrogen, or is it really the same?
I give you a third one. It's geological hydrogen.
Okay,
And
it's all the same.
it's all the same. People don't know yet, but it's very new, and it's only like 2 years old. It's much older, and if you go to universities, you find people who are looking into it for 20 more years. But it was always kind of in science and not in kind of business in the business world. So yes, it is the same. It is like you find natural gas in the ground, methane. Uh, then you find now natural hydrogen in the ground. And just is no one ever looked for it. It's unbelievable.
So bottom line is, we know green hydrogen to be hydrogen produced from renewable energies.
Yes.
And I think what you're saying is natural hydrogen slash white hydrogen or what is it?
Geological.
Geological hydrogen is basically hydrogen which is stored in the soil and can be extracted. So this is that does not mean, yes.
And maybe as well to say, if you produce renewable hydrogen or green hydrogen. So green is the EU doesn't know green. There is either renewable or it's low carbon hydrogen. But the general public talks about green hydrogen. Let's use that term here. Um, or blue hydrogen when you capture the carbon. You need industrial processes for it. For green, you need at first to build a solar plant, you need to build wind to create the energy that then uses an electrolyzer, an industrial process, a machine, and water to produce hydrogen. And with the blue, you need again the carbon capture and storage part of it. The white hydrogen, you don't need all of it. Yeah, it has even a much smaller ecological footprint, carbon footprint, because until you build a solar plant or a windmill, you need already CO2 and energy to get it. The white is just there. God has put it there 5 billion years ago, and it's sitting there, and no one looked at it.
Yes.
So you just drill a hole, put a tap on it, and fill it. I know it's a little bit simple, but that's it. That's what it is.
And I understand that they found it in Mali, and it came to a discussion some 40 years ago. What happened in Mali? So that got the attention.
Yeah. Originally, the Mali case is it's a wonderful case. They tried to build a well 100 meters deep just to produce water, and then they were kind of sitting there. They had they dug it, and then I think they it didn't even find water. I'm not too sure about the very details, but then they were sitting there and taking a rest. Somebody lit a cigarette and threw the whatever the match, and then bang! There was a big explosion.
A big explosion.
A big explosion. They didn't know what it was, and then they all ran away. And I think it burned. I don't know, even for a year or something. Nobody touched it. And then they kind of whatever put a lid on it and stopped it. And they thought it was a wind coming out because there was something coming out. And then for about 20, 30 years, nothing happened. Um, and then somebody came, an investor who invested in a couple of infrastructure things in Mali. And then he said, "What is this?" And then they told him, and he said, "Let's open it up." And then they said, "Wow, what is this?" So they produce then heat of it for a village or a small city and energy. So they're using it. And funnily, there is more and more hydrogen every year. So it's replenishing. It's
Okay.
not that you tap into something like whatever a balloon and it's emptying. It's even a little bit more and more increasing. So at the
Okay.
moment,
So once you have a hole at the right place, you can extract natural hydrogen, and if you are happy, you can even extract more over time.
uh, it it hasn't been done on an industrial level so far. So with one of our projects, we are amongst the first ones.
Yes.
So we only can say this is what happens in Mali,
Right.
but it can be different elsewhere. It can be the same. Unfortunately, Mali with the civil war and everything, it's a difficult place to go. Otherwise, I would have been there for long and would have looked in it, found something there
Right.
maybe.
Yeah.
But so therefore, that's a very sad situation. So it is producing, and it's used as an example for the, and let's call it white hydrogen for
Right.
our rest of the podcast
Right.
for white hydrogen. But yeah, but this is a very special and single situation.
Circumstance, yes. And now let's go a little bit deeper in two dimensions, because I think we met in Hamburg just recently, and you explained that white hydrogen is normally in a specific deepness, right? So, can you explain where do we find on Earth this white hydrogen?
Yeah. Um, so number one, it's like always when you look into it, it's getting not complicated, but bit more complex. There are 7 different ways of how hydrogen can be produced in the earth and how it can come up to the top. So what we spoke in Hamburg about and what I'm repeating now is the case of our project, which we have in the Middle East, where we have the ultramafic rock. There is it's an iron containing rock, which is a porous rock, and the hydrogen is in this rock encapsulated. So what I'm trying to explain, there is usually this whole layer of rock is in the crust of the earth around 20 kilometers deep,
Right.
which God, as I said, has put it there. It's sitting there, and no one have ever used it. Now, 20 kilometers deep is too deep to drill. Oil and gas drills 3 to 6 kilometers, so that is the maximum you would drill for. So now there was, when the continents, like the original continent Pangaea, it burst and it came back again. And in this very region we're talking about, the Persian plate of the Earth moved over the Arabic plate. So when two plates crush into one goes up and one goes down.
Yes.
The one that goes up is all the mountains along Oman, the Northern Emirates. So all these high rocks and mountains. That was the hydrogen layer, which was 20 kilometers deep, is now only 1.5 kilometers deep, which is half the depth of oil and gas. So a wonderful depth. So it's so deep that it's still there, that it didn't evaporate, but it's very shallow for
Accessible.
oil and gas drilling purposes. Yes.
And that is basically also what people are now searching for, if they are on the topic, that they try to find areas where these circumstances are occurring.
This is, I say, the Champions League of, because you have high quantities in those regions.
Right.
There are, as I said, a couple of other methodologies. For instance, in a project in Germany, we are going with aquifers. You have water coming up, hot water, geothermal, carrying hydrogen in it. It's in this case, it's a little bit like I have water here, and that's carbon dioxide in it. If I shake it, so then the carbon dioxide is released, and it's the same in that water. There's hydrogen in it, in the middle of the H2O little molecules, and it only comes out when it comes up to the ground. So that's another way how you can produce hydrogen.
Right.
So therefore, coming back to this one, in the Arabic world, uh, we have identified 7 regions in the world where we expect similar quantities. And when I mean quantities, I always mean hundreds of millions of tons in the ground to produce.
Please do me a favor and subscribe to our channel. If you like the content, it helps a lot to grow the channel. Thank you very much. Right. So this is huge, isn't it? And so people speak about a real game changer for the energy transition. Do you also believe that this is a game changer?
I definitely do. For a simple reason. To produce a kilogram of hydrogen, the white hydrogen, is less than $1 per kilogram. And that's if I say a fraction. It's if I look into some projects in northern Germany where I live, you rather talk about 10 euros per kilogram.
Yes.
Now, less than €1 is 10% of this production costs. And if you look into other parts of the world, Brazil, Australia, with renewable or with green hydrogen, you have $3 to $5, and it's still 20% of this one. So number one, it is very cheap in the production. So therefore, that will absolutely increase the usage of hydrogen. We all know hydrogen has a big problem, the chicken and the egg problem.
Yes.
I would not build a hydrogen filling station if there are no hydrogen cars. I would not buy a car if there is no filling station. So this chicken and egg is all over the hydrogen infrastructure as well. You wouldn't build a pipeline if there is no hydrogen, but you need a pipeline if the cost should go down. So how I see white hydrogen, it is wonderful to bring the whole hydrogen industry, the hydrogen economy up to speed and up to scale.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's a game changer. And I have, in a couple of years ago, we did a couple of studies to see as of when will hydrogen be widely adapted in the public or with industry. And we always said once it is below $2 per kilo, that
Yes.
is about the fossil fuel price for the same amount of energy for a kilo of hydrogen. A kilo drives 100 kilometers for a car, just for the listeners who are not too familiar with the quantities. So, green hydrogen, I just say €8, €10 per kilo. Fossil fuel, €2 for about the same amount of energy. Natural hydrogen, €1
Right.
or $1. It doesn't really matter. It's about the same dimension. So therefore, that is why I love it. It will not mean once natural hydrogen is produced that the other projects are not necessary anymore. On the opposite, on the contrary, white hydrogen could really be an enabler to get the hydrogen industry going.
Yeah, and I think you also explained or shared that even at the World Economic Forum, there was a special place where you discussed the importance of white hydrogen. Can you share what was the main part of the discussion?
Sure. No, I love the World Economic Forum because when I go there, you said we said it at the start of the podcast. You said kind of you want to have an impact, yes. And if you look at my LinkedIn, it says philanthropist, and I really mean it when I say I want to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
And when I go to Davos and see the young kids, I can say in my age, you see all those PowerPoints to show us where we are at the brink of climate catastrophes and everything. You say, when I go home, I say, now everybody must have understood it. Then I go home, 1 year, nothing happens.
Yeah.
I go the next year, I say, now everybody has understood. So, and then I really felt I need to do something. And this year we had good panels and conversations about natural hydrogen.
Mhm.
And it was unbelievable interest there because, you know, when you, I, I'm a philanthropist and I love to make the world a better place. I'm a serial founder and a business person and I love to make money. So with natural hydrogen, you can make the world a better place while making money. For me, it's the dream.
Yeah, and that probably got you interested, right? That you saw this opportunity.
Well, yes.
And I personally think, even though I'm not an expert on white hydrogen, I think the beauty of it is, as you explained, if you drill a hole at the right place, you have a limited amount of capex that you need. But once the hole is there, the flow of the hydrogen will be for a very long period of time. Whereas if you want to scale up electrolyzer technology, you really mass produce it to bring down the costs of the capex, right? And so the drilling oil and drilling gas is basically a very known thing for the industry, right? And if now the people are trying to use the same technologies to exploit white hydrogen, this can be very cost effective. Is that more or less summing up why it is so interesting?
Yes, let me try to bring a little bit of color to this. It's absolutely on spot what you say. Number one, um, it's this. I always call this rock. It's a little bit like a kitchen sponge. So when you drill a hole in the middle, if you blow in here, it will blow at the other side as well, uh, but not forever. So and it's like with oil and gas as well. They drill several wells, and then one does not have any pressure at all. One brings for 7 years the full capacity and all of it. So before I looked into this, I always thought when you look for natural gas, there is a big gas bubble in the ground. You tap it and then it flows for 10, 20, 50 years. No, I learned that a lot of this is as well in these porous rocks where you sometimes have to, like with hydrogen as well, even make it flow. So therefore, it's very similar to it. The drill holes are different. Hydrogen is a very small molecule, so you need Teflon valves and another compressor. So it's more like carbon capture and storage drilling. This is very similar to hydrogen drilling than the pure oil and natural gas drilling. So one thing is you have to drill, and if you are lucky and have one of those holes or one of the drill holes that produce for ages, like not only months but years, you're lucky. Yes, but others you need to drill a couple of hundred meters, a kilometer. So our first project in the Northern Emirates, in the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah, has 90 square kilometers. So we can drill a lot of holes to tap. Um, the good thing about this very rock is the following. Um, Björn, if we don't find hydrogen, we can use the same hole to press CO2 in it, and the CO2 is then mineralized, crystallized. So the O2, the oxygen is released, and the carbon is gone. It's a solid material, a carbonate, then like limestone. So therefore, the point is, if we don't find hydrogen in a hole, we still can use our business line two to make carbon capture, which makes
Right.
even the project carbon negative, not only carbon neutral.
Yeah, so bottom line, you go for a white hydrogen, but if you don't find the expected quantities, you can still use the efforts in another way and be economically viable, that the investment is not lost, right?
I call it a natural hedge, and that is something what we're totally excited about. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, investors will love to hear that because they also want a plan B, right? So,
Well, on securities, we might get to that subject a little bit later in the call, but one big problem with hydrogen projects is uh, you need money, but at the beginning, it's like it's so you need all the money up front, and then you have kind of free energy. The sun doesn't charge, the wind doesn't charge, but you need all the money up front. But the market is not there yet, so there is uncertainty about quantities, about prices. So therefore, bankers and financiers don't like it. So the good thing about such a project I'm just talking about is I don't know as well where the price of hydrogen will go. If I produce for $1, I'm more happy than if I produce for $10. If the price at the end is $5, so that is one thing. But then there are people who say, "Well, it has never been done. How do we know that it will flow at all? If not, okay, then we use the holes for sequestering CO2. So therefore, that is what I really love about it, so that we don't have to wait and another study and another study. I'm a person who I say do it, then fix it, and I need to do something, as I said already earlier. So therefore, that is a wonderful combination.
Okay. And so are there any regulatory challenges that you are facing? Because I could believe that it might be easier in certain regions of the world to drill a hole with this attitude of, Eric, let's do it. Whereas in other regions, there might be many regulations that you first need to comply with, and even to start with, right? What is the situation on the regulatory front?
Yeah, absolutely. There are places in the world where you just can drill a hole, but you possibly would not want to be in those countries,
Mm.
just because you want as well to have a stable situation and a stable not only government but things like this. But there are obviously countries which are very fast in adapting new technologies and regulation. For instance, in our case, in the UAE, it's 7 Emirates. We are in the northernmost emirate. We are directly dealing with the palace, which is directly tied to the petroleum authority. Funnily, it's the petroleum authority, gas and petroleum authority. As white hydrogen is so new, there is no own body for it. We're dealing with REC Gas, the Ras Al Khaimah gas company, and obviously with the politicians. So they have changed the regulation very fast, like you very often see in the Middle East, old decision makers fast, and that is a wonderful country to start with. Um, we have then our next stop is Oman, the same mountain, another country there as well, with a lot of business activity around the hydrogen space, is as well a country which openly embraces these new technologies. If you look, for instance, to Australia, it's very open. America is very open. Nebraska, Kansas, there is a lot of things happening. And I don't know how long we will stay with that subject, but I'd love to share a little bit of things that are happening there. So therefore, the usual suspects are fast: America, Australia.
Yeah.
If you go to Europe, yes, it is not even yet known. It didn't make it into the new coalition agreement in Germany. We even tried to support this, but it's so new that now it has to go through certain layers. Even in Germany, we have the law, the Bundesbergbaugesetz. They don't know what to do with it,
Yeah.
because it's not a solid, it's not a rock that with
Yeah.
which is like mining. It's a gas, and so far, but you drill for it. There is a lot of administrative red tape at the moment. I just can hope that everybody understands. Hey, even in Europe, in Germany, we are sitting on a wealth of energy, sustainability, of energy independence, and all of it. My personal feeling is it will be, although it's still very unknown, it will go fast. I hope for.
Okay.
Hopefully. Uh-huh.
Yeah, so I think also that German law needs to be innovative and open to new technologies. And even if you don't get the permit for a full-scale exploration, what you want to achieve is that you at least can do test drilling very fast without complications, right? Because I think if the people find this magnitude of white hydrogen, I think then even the lawmakers will be excited about, yeah? So, yeah, let's come to one thing that I think we need to touch also. Um, Finding white hydrogen is one thing, but in the hydrogen economy, the topic of purification and the purification level of hydrogen often determines which use cases are possible with hydrogen. So, how much processing and purification is needed for white hydrogen to make it really useful?
Yeah. It's surprisingly pure, up 90+%. So therefore, the purification process is a quite simple one in case, because there is not much like
Contamination.
gases, contamination with it. Sometimes goes nitrogen with it, which could be good. Then if we capture that, then we have already the basis. If we want to make e-methanol, things like that, it comes in handy. Um, and there is always the hope, and I call it a hope, that helium is with it. As we all know, helium will not be produced, any new helium on the planet. There is just what is there. Once it's used, it's gone. And some of the Australian colleagues, they found helium, and even helium-3, which is the best of it all, in it. And 1% helium has more value than all the hydrogen you produce.
So that would be the icing on the cake, right?
This would be the hope for everybody who is in this new white hydrogen game, if I call it that way. Now, so therefore, coming back to the concrete questions about purification, it's no complicated process. And then the question is what you use it for, then the product. If you use it to produce, for instance, ESAF or whatever, you don't even need this high purity. So if you obviously need it in combustion engines, you need the 99 point something. When I say the $1 per kilogram, we already allowed for the purification. So it comes out at 60 cents per kilogram. So therefore, we have a little bit of a buffer already that to make it to an industrial quality.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, so before we come to the actual expectations when the hydrogen, the white hydrogen will actually come to market, because I understand it's still early on. A lot of is going on, but it's even taking longer to deliver it to the markets. Let's talk about the specific projects in more detail, where you are involved and what we have learned from recent news coverage. So I understand that one of your biggest project is in the Emirates. And there you have this special stone that is delivering the white hydrogen. So what is the purpose of this project, and how do you really approach it? And in which phase are you with this project?
Sure, thank you. No, it's 4 founders, original founders who have looked into it. They all claim, or two of the 4 founders, 2 business people, a finance guy and a serial founder himself, sold a couple of companies, built a couple of companies, and 2 are from the oil and gas space. They have worked for the likes of Shell, of BP, of Total, and of ADNOC, the government state oil company in the Emirates. And they always have worked for carbon capture and storage, so very close to what they do now with the hydrogen space in that. And they have been internationally very reputable names in that industry, possibly 2 of the 10 most reputable people of that industry. So those 2 founders, they know, number one, exactly what they do, and they have secured, the company has about 13 patents as well, how to identify the hydrogen from above the soil before you even drill, from radiolysis, from screening, magnetography, and certain methodologies to really know already where exactly the hydrogen is located in the ground. So you don't waste drill holes just by trial and error. That is one thing. Then the next thing is they have extreme experience in drilling and in designing the drilling process. So that is where we are there. We have signed a cooperation agreement and a memorandum of understanding with a company of the name of Weatherford, which is the 3rd largest drilling company on the planet. Possibly Halliburton and Schlumberger are known a little bit better. It's a stock exchange listed company from Houston. So the good thing is that these guys are doing the drilling, and that gives me, as an investor as well, a good faith that they know what they are doing.
Yeah, so it's a very experienced team.
Exactly. That's all I want to say. Very experienced, and they know exactly what they're doing. So where are we? we have now done all the preparation, and the drillings will start in kind of October when the heat goes down. So we needed this spring to get all the licenses in place. Now it's getting hot in the region. So and if it's hotter than 50 degrees, it is obviously not allowed to work outside, and it's about to get that. So therefore, that will be until end of September, beginning of October, and that is when we want to use the whole cold season, so to say, in there to get our drillings and everything done. So we plan to have the first production, small production well, ready by April next year, March next year, and then it's merely a process of financing, of scaling, and of drilling more and more holes.
And I have seen your project papers, and the project is called Decahydrodron. Why do you call it that way? Is
So, guys, there is the Decahydron. The original founder is French, and it's a Decahydron is like a 10-sided object.
okay?
Like it's a triangle, a quadrangle. There's a Decahydron,
Okay.
and so therefore that is where it came. And Deca stands as well a little bit for decarbonization, and Hydron for hydrogen. So
Yeah.
therefore, it was a little bit of a game name. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why it's named that way. Yes.
So I find it quite extraordinary that you say that you need to wait for winter to start working, because we always talk about climate change, right? And we have seen climate temperatures rising up, and I think we here in Germany will never get probably temperatures of 50 degrees, but this is the case in the United Arab Emirates, right? It's
Yeah.
crazy.
And I tell you, um, the it's not allowed to work for on whatever construction sites if the temperatures are above 50 degrees. You can imagine, have a look if you want at the internet, how often they officially record 49.5 degrees as,
Okay.
as the maximum temperature of the day. So I say it with a little smile, but it is very much going into that direction. But so then in that is as well the mountains where we are, because maybe some listeners ask themselves, why is it so new? Why has never anybody looked for those mountains or for white hydrogen? It's quite simple. These mountains are very stony mountains. There is no vegetation. And that means there was never a organic matter. And to produce oil, coal, gas, you always needed trees or leaves that were rotten, that were pressure, water came over it, pressed it again. So this was how coal, oil, and gas was generated over millions of years. So when oil and gas came into these mountains, they say, "Oh, no organic matter, not interesting." They went home, and that is why never has been drilled. So therefore, only a couple of years ago, investors started to look at it. Well, last year, Bill Gates has put in $100 million in a company,
Yeah.
and the richest Australian miner, Andrew Forrest, has put 40 million. Now everybody's asking, "Hey, what's happening there? We have to look. What are these guys doing?" So it's very new, and the rocks or the mountains are very only stones, so therefore they heat up more than as well maybe forests if there is so some mountains with forests.
One question that I still have with regard to your project in the Emirates is how much white hydrogen do you actually expect to explore when you have a full scale? And where do you want to sell it? Do you want to sell it to Europe, or what are the plans?
Yeah. Um, First part of the question, the current very first drilling license we have, we expect around 100 million tons of hydrogen.
It's quite a lot already.
What the experts say. You what? At the moment, 90 million tons of hydrogen are used annually on the planet.
Right.
This number, McKinsey says it will go up to 450 million tons in 2045. That's or the Deloitte studies that you named them, all about the same numbers. And today, out of the 90 million tons, less than 1% is green. which
Yes.
means only 900,000 tons. So, with this amount, which we have in our very first exploration license, we already could produce a little bit of green hydrogen to serve as well internationally. We do have secured in other Emirates and in Oman already additional exploration
Right.
areas, which are each bigger than the current one. So therefore, it's quite a quantity. Coming to the second part of the question, where do you want to sell it? Number one, there are a couple of decarbonized, or how do you say, heavy to decarbonize industry that is there. There are all the cement factories, all the buildings in Dubai. The cement is produced, for instance, in Ras Al Khaimah. We have
Right.
16 cement factories very nearby from our drilling area. Um,
And they got currently run on gas, or what do
they
they?
currently run. If they need to decarbonize like all others, we can buy their CO2,
Mhm. Put
compress
it in the ground.
deliver hydrogen to make them decarbonized. Then there are three of the largest power plants just recently being finished. They are hydrogen ready. They run with gas at the moment, so we could sell our product there.
In Germany or in the
And
United
in the UAE, in the
Okay,
UAE,
three hydrogen-ready power plants.
which provide for between 15 and 20% of the total power of the UAE.
Wow.
They're hydrogen ready, so they run on natural gas at the moment.
Yes.
Then the other one is, for instance, in Oman, in Sohar, north of Muscat. There is all the big aluminum companies. For instance, Vale, the world's largest mining company, they have an iron ore smelter there. So they bring all the iron ore raw with dirt from Brazil to there because the gas is so cheap that to reduce it to pure iron, which they then ship to Germany for ThyssenKrupp to make steel out of it. Unbelievable what these movements. So these guys could use definitely hydrogen
And
and so there is a lot of local, but the end game is as well to export to Europe, to Germany,
right.
which is then with all this CBAM and all these new carbon taxes, wonderful for these countries to reduce steel, to reduce keep the value creation in the country and then produce green product into Europe.
What is quite exciting is that you seem to be pushing bold for it because when you look at the hydrogen economy, many people are talking about I'm willing to invest provided I have a binding off-taker. But if I understand your approach is you go for it because you trust that you can sell it because there is so much demand, or you also require off-takers that say we will buy.
Uh, I did it before in my coal mine 20 years ago. The first thing I got was from ThyssenKrupp an offtake agreement of 2 million tons per year for 10 years. So I had sold 20 million tons of coal before I even financed it. So
Okay.
therefore, the game, what I read now, I'm smiling a little bit in fond memories when I read, oh, offtaker and production and all of it. Yes, you need an offtaker.
Okay.
And so for us, where I have it a little bit easier than many, with $1 production cost.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
easy for off taker to sign something instead of for 7, 5, 8, $12 or euros. So therefore, that gives me a little head start in finding off takers, gives me a little head start in arranging finance.
Great. So I think we hear a lot about the Middle East going on for many reasons. They also have great sun that they can use for their energy transition. But I think what is quite unique with the white hydrogen is also in Germany there are opportunities, right? I recently heard that the University of Nuremberg made a big discovery, and I don't know if I recall the headline correct, but they found white hydrogen that could power Europe for 200 years. Is that correct?
It is, this was Frankfurter Rundschau, and they are not known for too pushy headlines. If it would be in one of the other publications with four letters and a red color, you would say, "Oh, that could be just a bold statement." No, yes, we are hopeful and lucky. As you know, we are involved in that company as well. Out of the university, there was a spin-off, there was a company created, and we are now part of that company because, as I said, with my genetic defect, I know how to make something big out of something which was an idea in the beginning. And so that is a wonderful situation, what we are doing there. So uh, it, I don't know if it's could power Europe for 200 years. Uh,
But it's significant.
it is significant, and it's a different situation from what we just talked about for the last 10 minutes or 30 minutes, maybe even. Um, no, but what is there? We find hydrogen in aquifers, and that we use the geothermal heat. It's hot water, so we can already use the hot water for local community heating plants and just to use that energy. So the hydrogen comes with it, and that is for a normal municipality, say a small town in the region, to have a hydrogen filling station, um, to power the local um, waste company and all of this. So it's not these hundreds of millions of ton at one place, but smaller drill holes, not so deep, not so expensive, but many of them, and then producing in a kind of in a local situation, produce hot water, renewable energy by itself, and add the hydrogen layer on it. So therefore, that's more. It's
So the complete package what
so,
society needs.
yes, it's
Have
a package, and especially in Bavaria, which is not far away from the northern German wind and solar panels, to have a local source of energy is wonderful. It is a Rheingraben. It goes to the border of France, and at the moment it's north of Bayreuth in this region where we expect the best sources of this sort of hydrogen.
and this is in which phase? Are you still in discovery mode, or are you already locked in and going for it?
Well, we are. You mean we as a company, or if the company is owned?
Yeah, whether you made the decision to really go for the exploration or
No, no. That is done. Just it's a timing issue. You need to do. We need to do one step after the other,
yes.
and this is it's nothing where we will produce next year. So therefore, we have the head start in Germany. I'm pretty sure, and that is it's a wonderful team, extremely knowledgeable people, a great team around the founders. So we really loved it in the first minute. We are in talks for long, and so therefore that is what I really love as well, to have as well than the scientific expertise and experience tied to the entrepreneurial spirit that we bring in.
Yeah, I think we can probably go on many ways. So we also have seen a big discovery in France, where they were very passionate about the amount of white hydrogen that they potentially can get. You have mentioned the investment of Bill Gates via Breakthrough Energies. I think this is one of the famous startups, Coloma, where they invested together with Kawasaki Heavy Industries, as I think, and this says something, right? So we see that international players are now approaching this space. It's good that you are doing this in Germany as well, but I feel that we might be coming again in the situation that we are left behind because the others are simply faster. And we should avoid this because this seems to be a big opportunity to become, at least in parts, energy independent in Germany and in Europe.
Yeah. Well, let me try to stay. There were three questions in this one. One talk about France. Yes, they found. We've been at the Natural Hydrogen Conference in HNET in November in Paris, where the global, call it elite of natural hydrogen came together, and it's now really beginning to be an industry in itself. And they I learned a little bit of what they're doing. They have found hydrogen in the Pyrenees, down in between France and Spain, and in the Ardennes, so between Germany and France. Both, one is, I think, 14 kilometers deep, the other one 12 kilometers deep. So it's the same.
It's a little bit deeper.
It's not 1.5 kilometers like
Yeah.
in the Emirates, but 12. Still, it is a very mighty source to produce, and they're really excited about it. So I'm following it with through some mutual business partners, and that has this really as well the potential to become to contribute to the energy independency of Europe as a whole. Um, the next point is with when you say Coloma, which is a company which is in Kansas and Nebraska. Again, America, America, America. Yes, they found it as well. And in America, it's a little bit like the gold rush in Klondike 150 years ago. At the moment, it's a land grab play. So people know, oh, there could be white hydrogen. They just reserve the rights, and then they sit on it, like you did in 1850 in Klondike. Um, so people just they didn't open a mine directly. They just
Okay.
heard the claims, and then came all the little people around it, the people who produced shovels and trucks and blue jeans and run the saloon or whatever. So they made the first money, and then came the big boys to dig for gold. And it's a little bit here as well. So there is a lot of noise in America about this sort of hydrogen. Again, a different way of extracting hydrogen. We know that America has no problem with fracking, which Europe does. So they have certain layers of hydrogen in the ground where what they call to do micro cracking, not fracking, but cracking. So
Right.
in my picture, I'm not a technical person. They pull a microwave oven and a rope down there, and then they start it, they press the start button, and then the microwaves crack the stone and have water run through it, which means that the iron ore and the water they react, and what happens if water comes to iron, it rusts, and this process releases hydrogen out of the water.
Okay.
The H2O, the O is bound to the iron and makes out of Fe, FeO, or FeO, Fe2O3, which is iron ore, the chemical formula, and H2 is released. So they initiate this process. But again,
Right.
that's a different story from what we do in the Emirates, a different story from what we do in here. But it's a big, big business, and many people are just jumping on it after breakthrough energy, after other big boys have done it. And it's no wonder that the Japanese trading houses look into it. They know exactly it's going to come, and they are very smart and secure a small shareholding just to be, once it's up and running, to have offtake and to be in it. We had in Australia at my time, we had in every single mine there was a small shareholding of Marubeni, Mitsubishi, Sumitomo, and you name them. They're very, very smart, and they do this the same here in the new hydrogen industry. Now, there were two questions left in your package. One was, what should we do in Europe, or are we left out again? Uh, no, because we are doing it. Joke. But,
Okay.
but uh, no, it's Germany has not done drilling for long. We had coal mines, but then we got rid of it, and so therefore it's a little bit of coincidence that I have been involved in coal mining. I'm still a member of the Deutsche Auslandsbergbauvereinigung, the association of miners abroad. So it's a small group, slowly aging group, where we look into mining activities. So therefore, in other parts of the world where there is more mining and drilling activity, they are just closer to the subject.
Mm.
So we need to reassess Now drilling doesn't mean, oh, bad like coal or bad like oil.
Yeah.
Great, because it's clean. It's
Yeah.
even less invasive than green energy, because you don't need to have the rare earth or the batteries or the wind poles and everything before you can produce hydrogen. But it is there, and you just need one hole and can produce it. So therefore, that's a shift of mind. And I would love, one reason why I'm so glad about you having me here in that podcast is I want to be an ambassador for everything, and I'm openly sharing what I do. Other business people possibly would not, because they say, no, 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 I make the business, I don't tell my secrets. I want to tell my secrets because I want more and more people to do this. I have no fear that I'm losing business. We're all winning business if the world gets cleaner, if it's more hydrogen, and if we can do it. So
Yeah.
I encourage everybody to reach out to me as well, not necessarily for only business purposes, but to make the case for this hydrogen. So
Yeah,
um,
and I think this is an emerging industry, and if we are successful and work together, it will be pretty big, and then everybody has enough space to breathe, right? So I want to touch upon also again our oil and gas giants that I also understand are now getting involved in this. And you told me that they at the beginning were not really interested to that, but now that they see this wave of investments, they also start to get interested. Is it the interest to lobby against it, or are they interested to invest?
uh, all of it. Um,
Okay.
and in the beginning, they hated it because hydrogen was the enemy. Hydrogen is green, and they are against fossil fuels. So they said, "Oh, what is hydrogen? No, 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 we don't want to touch it." Um, Funnily, the other side didn't look, the green energy world didn't look into drilling for hydrogen, because for my friends in the renewable energy space, solar, wind, electrolyzer hydrogen, they said, no, 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 drilling is oil and gas, it's evil. So they don't talk to each other. It's just a little bit, we both sides were living a little bit in kind of in silos. And this is changing rapidly. So the oil and gas industry begins to understand, wait a minute, if we drill a hole, if the gas that comes out is called natural gas, or whether the gas is called hydrogen, it's drill a hole and get it out.
Yeah.
So, therefore, they are beginning to open up. We've had approaches from them, and I'm just talking now a little bit halfway confidential. So we have been approached by some large mining companies, by the venture arms of the mining giants, by early oil and gas people, um, which say, hey, can we get a stake in your company, put in a couple of $1 million just to sit at the table? You'll never know if these strategic investors want to sit there to, as you said, get market intelligence and then want to lobby against you,
Mhm.
or whether they are really interested and
To
open
expand it. Yeah.
to expand it.
Yeah.
Today, in these 3 to 5 years now, in the mid of the 2020s, hydrogen majors will be born, which will reach globally. It's a little bit in the 1920s, there was the oil and gas, the Exxons, the Shells, the PPs were grown and born to really become majors. Now, hydrogen majors will be born and founded. Um, if they are fast, and if they raise enough money, it's still, as I said, it's still early days, and it's never been done. So I'm already putting it as if it's a done deal. No, we have to do step by step everything. But then I say there could be really great opportunities. If
Yeah.
the people don't pick the opportunities, then earlier or later, the oil and gas big boys or the miners will come and say, "Hey, that's for us," and then they will buy into it, and then they possibly might just have again their monopoly, but in another space.
Yeah, so let's hope for the best, because I think, as you mentioned, the oil and gas industry also was created with the help of politicians. And I think this, what you're saying is this is an investment opportunity anybody can pick, and you don't need politicians for this to make a business. You need good regulation to allow you to test your business case. But even if you are not successful, you drill a hole for other purposes that can also be good, right?
Yeah.
So now looking a little bit forward, I think you are now having this investor vehicle, or your company, Green Investors, but I realized that you're also involved in a hydrogen fund called Zenko, where you try to address also not only related to natural hydrogen, um, the risk gap that we are currently facing, because you mentioned this chicken and egg problem, but ordinary financing still does not work. And can you explain what is this Senko about, and what is the unique idea about this financing?
Sure, sure. No, no, happy. Wonderful. Thank you very much for this question. Um, Before I answer it, let me just finish up on the natural hydrogen space, um, because I believe we need a strong voice to make sure that natural hydrogen is seen in Europe as well as an extraordinary opportunity. Myself, I'm involved in Hydrogen Europe, the European organization out of Brussels, with Yorgo Chatzimarkakis as its president. And they have around 600 companies out of Europe, which is the body of the European hydrogen industry and the spokes channel. So I'm really trying that we as well embrace the the natural hydrogen in Europe, because it can be in any country. It's in different sorts. In obviously some countries which have more mountains, they might have a little bit of better opportunities, but it's so early that there is space for everybody. So that's maybe to finish up that
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
we want to be really we want to change.
You want to lead basically for the better.
Exactly. So coming to Zenko, Zenko is what we call a private equity fund. So the target fund size is 500 million euros. We have raised in the vicinity of 100 million, and that is we have invested last year a first project in in the pipeline space for hydrogen, 20 million euros. So that the sweet spot is around 25 million euros to invest there. What the difference is to the other activities is it's a later stage, or what the industry calls private equity style investment, which means it's not for startups, it's not for very early stage, it's not venture capital, but later. So if a company, for instance, produces already compressors, valves, or whatever, and gets a large mandate from one of the majors, call it the Siemenses, the Boschs, or who you name them, and say, hey, we want you to deliver from 2030 for our fuel cells, for this, for the electrolyzers, but you need to commit now. And these companies, if they go to the local bank, Sparkassen, and they say, no, well, we don't know this industry, you need to raise equity before we give you a loan to build that new factory for $100 million, so or euros it is. So then we love to jump in and provide financing there as equity partners. But as I said, later stage, and the company has already has to have EBITDA, positive EBITDA. Sometimes it's an older company, one of the hidden champions, which then expands into the hydrogen space. So therefore, different stories. But what you are referring to is about this gap between financing and projects and financiers. Very at the beginning of our talk, we spoke about hydrogen people or project developers need money. Investors need security.
Yes.
Or investors, if they don't have security, they want high yields, high returns. The hydrogen industry, given the uncertainties, cannot guarantee high certainty. So as we said, project developers are waiting for the hydrogen producers. Both are waiting for the banks. The banks are waiting for the regulatory framework or for net and for pipelines and for everything. So it's a waiting for Godot situation. Uh, but Godot never came. We hope that somebody will come here. And what I want to say there is that we really have a mechanism of reducing the risk via selling it out or via mitigation, risk mitigation. So, for instance, if you have produced an electrolyzer, you can have an insurance on this. For instance, with Münchner Rück, they have insurability. So, if then Münchner Rück takes the insurance of that this type of electrolyzer produces as it promised, then the investor is already a little bit safer because if it doesn't perform, then Münchner Rück will pay. So we have all sorts of avenues to increase the bankability, the financeability, the insurability, to reduce the gap between the project risks out of the bank views and the financing needs of the project. And then when those companies like Hintco or H2 Global, those companies which then take a gap of the price tag. So all of this together builds then the beginning of the hydrogen industry, what is desperately needed if we want to make Germany carbon free or carbon neutral in 2045.
Okay, so bottom line is it's an a concept where investors or where companies can go, and you have the partners to reduce the risks that are normally hard to reduce with a single partner, right?
It's
And
I'm I do this for 30 odd years. When I started, I was your age, and I was just trying to build projects. And then I ran into investors, and they said, "Oh, Eric, come back when this is ready. When this is," I said, "No,
exactly.
I don't come back because then I don't need you anymore." So I needed to learn my way. And over 30 years, I built a network of investors, of banks, of finances from New York via Zurich, from London to Singapore, you name it. And now this is where I can base upon that we have now when I speak to a young startup, when we speak to companies, we know already what the investors will ask for. So we are a little bit of a translator even to understand what does an investor need and what would the project need to provide to make it interesting. It's not that investors are greedy, but if investors can make good money on, say, a solar plant or a wind farm, and hydrogen delivers only 2 percentage points more, but has 20% more risk, why should they do it? They are acting very, very rational.
Rational, yeah.
We are just helping to kind of make this risk mitigation and then reduce the risk of the project. We reduce the returns because every single risk mitigation costs a little bit, but only a little bit. And investors, they can cope with bad news, but they hate surprises. So we want to eliminate surprises so that everyone knows what they are doing when they sign the contract and put in money.
So this is great, Eric. So I got to know you only recently, but I think our listeners will surely understand that you are a very curious person. Still, after 30 years, building new companies, getting into new investments to change the world. So, what are your plans for the future? You want to be the leader in the white hydrogen space, or what is your target? What do you want to achieve?
I, I want to. I'm a reader. I read ancient philosophy and modern thinkers, and out of them, I'm trying to extract something for me to live a balanced life, and at least in theory. No, but I'm not so much that I say I want to be the richest person on the cemetery. That's not what my aim is. I want to do something. Yes, you said I'm still founding. I always thought when I'm turned 50, now I'm disclosing that I'm older than 50. When I turned 50, I thought, whatever, I don't want to found anything more. I just take what I have, enjoy life. But the opposite happens. It's always more fun, especially given today's opportunities. That it's so exciting and working with young people and trying to get this done. So to disclose, I'm born in 318 ppm, which was when the CO2 was at that time. So I'm 1961, and my personal goal would be now from this year. We say there is 25 years to get the hydrogen industry going. When this is done in 2050, that would be possible a good idea for me for an early retirement. Um, and I'm fighting with my son, who is as well in the family office. He doesn't want to give me a 25-year CEO contract, but let's see whether I can still get that from him. He says um, that I should step down. No, just joking, all of it. No, it's really intriguing. It's doing what I love to do. It's really putting my heart at where it beats to make the world a better place, to create something, to bring people together, to be an inspiration, hopefully here and there, and really to say let's get going and let's get this thing cracking. Let's decarbonize the planet. Let's keep the climate under control. At least I have to say under control. I fear we will not reach the Paris targets, but every morning when we get up, we can do something to rescue what we can rescue, and this is something where I hope I can contribute a little bit from my side.
Definitely, dear Erik. So thank you very much. This was very inspirational also for me, because seeing how much of an engagement you have, I am also a very engaged person, but uh, I love the hydrogen industry because we are in it together and we build it now. And in 30 years, somebody build it. And it's great to be in this period where we can contribute to build it together and everybody's in helping mode. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, Erik. I hope that many people will see this, and I'm sure that you will be very successful with it. And I hope that we will get the hydrogen price down also with your efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And if you allow me, one last sentence is
Sure.
I do see your engagement. I really want to congratulate you. I'm 3 years older than you are, so you have a couple of years to go then to really go step into these sorts of avenues. And I do already sense in all of the width of activities that I see you where you are active that you're as well a wonderful ambassador. Thank you for doing so.
Thank you very much. And so uh, have a good day, Erik. And we will definitely find more inspirational people to come on this channel. Thank you very much once again.
Bye.